Well, good morning. I'm sitting here in Betty in the middle of a rainstorm again. It's a pretty common occurrence apparently. But I am enjoying a nice cup of coffee, and I thought I would take advantage of this moment to sit down and chat with you about a question I get asked all the time, and that is, why did you choose the Hymer Aktiv? So I figured, well, I will let everyone know. I did write an article. I called it the Goldilocks Syndrome. It's in the blog. And it talks about the process of identifying what type of RV or campervan or trailer is really right for you, depending on what you want to do with it. And I'm not going to talk about that here. I did go through a very convoluted multi-year process of determining exactly what it was I wanted to be when I grew up in regards to my adventuring. And it boiled down to, I wanted a little Class B campervan type vehicle. That was my choice. So back in 2016, early 2017, which is when I was ready to take the plunge, there were very few vehicles that actually fit the parameters of what I wanted, unless I was going to do something bespoke, and I wasn't able to at the time. It's something I hope to do in the future. So anyway, I ended up picking Betty. First and foremost was the chassis. I did not want a diesel-powered engine for many reasons, mostly to do with finances. They're more expensive, even though I have heard really, really good things about them and their longevity. I also wanted to be able to be in a vehicle that, if I was having a technical issue somewhere in the middle of nowhere, I could go to a regular mechanic's garage and hopefully they would be able to help me out. So the fact that I was now determined to get a gas vehicle engine, and at that time I think the ProMaster was, well, no, there's a Chevy. There were just a couple of choices, so that narrowed it down pretty fast. I really liked this particular vehicle. It's the ProMaster 2500. It's the slightly shorter chassis than some of the competitors that were out at the time, and that length was very important to me. This vehicle is less than 20 feet long. That was great. It meant that I felt comfortable driving it. It had maneuverability. Not only could I go out into the wilderness per se, but I could use it for my urban experiences too, and I wanted to have the flexibility to do both. I also really liked the fact that maintenance was not going to be super expensive, comparatively speaking, to a diesel engine. And I'd heard all sorts of rumors about DEF fluid. I don't know what that is. I just know that there's a lot of angst over it, and I didn't want to deal with that. I'm sure somebody's going to write in and tell me it's nothing, and I'll take your word for it. So length was crucial. The next important thing to me was the layout. I really like this layout. I like the fact that I have two very distinct living areas, quote unquote, with the front seats being able to turn around and swivel in, and a little dinette area up front, and then having a bed area in the back. That just felt really nice to me. I like the bathroom. I really, really liked the cassette toilet. I did a video on that. You can go and find out why. At the time, the Hymer Aktiv, I guess it's now called a 1.0, was the only commercially available production vehicle in the North American market that had a cassette. I believe there's a couple more now, so yay. That was a big, big pro for me in my pro and con list. And because it's a cassette toilet, it means that there is the ability and more room to have bigger freshwater and gray water tanks, which is nice because it allows you to be out a little bit longer. The cassette is easy to dump regularly, the others not so much. So that was a good one for me. I also really liked the bathroom layout. It's spacious enough for me. I liked that it had a built-in medicine cabinet. There's lots of bits and pieces in there that I really liked. I was very intrigued by the flip-down sink. I like to splash about a bit when I'm washing my face. I also thought it would come in handy for washing the dog, so we'll see how well that worked out. Next for me would probably have to be the finishes in the vehicle. I like things light and airy and simple. I have to say, from a design sensibility, I really do like the slightly more European flair that the Hymer has. I saw a couple of trailers that had similar finishes that I really liked, but at that point in time there was nothing, comparatively speaking, in the Class B campervan market that came close to the look and feel of this vehicle. I think there are now. Competition is good. The windows were a huge thing for me. I had experienced these windows in a trailer before and really, really liked them. They're not the slidey windows that you find on other units. These are actually awning style, which I love. I can open them up when it's raining. I don't have them open right now because it's making a racket and I'm worried about the sound quality on this video. I really, really, really love the skylight up front. That makes a huge difference for light and airiness. I don't feel totally blocked in. If I am stealth camping or I just don't want people being able to see inside, I can shut down all the windows and I still have light coming in the vehicle because of the skylight. So really great. I also have airflow, which is awesome. The fantastic fan in the bathroom, if you have the skylight open and that fan going, you get pretty nice breeze going through here. So the next thing that I found to be really intriguing was the electrical system that came in her. I call her her. Her name is Betty. So I purchased her at the Florida 2017 Super Show, which I think was the second or third time it was being shown at a show. It was very new to the market. It came fully loaded. There really weren't options, to my knowledge, at the time. And I'm glad, because I now have a fully loaded vehicle. So it comes with the EcoTrack system, which are 2 lithium batteries. There's an AGM battery, which is kind of like a battery minder, I guess, for the lithiums. I have solar panels. I have the underhood generator, which was a huge, huge, huge plus for me. And I'm going to do a video on that as well. I also have the Voltstart. So it comes with all the bells and whistles. I travel with Alfie, who's my little rescue dog, and I live in Florida. The two things are not a good combo unless you have a means to keep a vehicle at a decent temperature. And I have been told that this system is the perfect recipe to do that. And I am going to do a video on that at some point, and discuss how effective that really has been for me or not. The verdict is still out. The clearance underneath was pretty good. Obviously, I would have really adored this vehicle had it been on a 4x4 chassis. The ProMaster 4x4 did not exist in this country at the time. I believe there is one, rumors of one, floating around in Europe, and hopefully it will land here at some time in the near future. I am putting some sumo springs on my vehicle, and I'm actually going to be doing a video about that pretty soon. I'm very excited about that. It's going to give me a tiny little bit more clearance, not a whole lot, but it will help me when I'm driving in very high wind conditions, which, because it's raining all the time, it means it's windy all the time, and so I think that'll just settle things down a little when I'm driving. The comfort level was also crucial. I test drove a number of vehicles, some of which should have been absolutely amazing, and I did not feel comfortable driving them at all. So that is a big, big, big thing. It's a really good idea to test drive whatever vehicles you might be considering right off the bat. I was horrified when I discovered how uncomfortable I was in most of them. And that became a huge choice eraser, if you like, for me. If I wasn't comfortable driving, I couldn't even consider it. So that took off a number of choices right off the bat. One of the things I did notice when I did a test drive was how nice my view was from the driver's seat. It's really open, and when you're up there driving through the countryside, roads, whatever, you have a nice unobstructed view, and you kind of feel like king of the castle. It's a pretty awesome feeling. So that was a huge plus. And it came with a spare tire, which there's a lot of debate on how important it is to have a spare tire or not. I am of the camp of having a spare tire is a good thing, even though there's roadside assistance, even though most of us are not in the boonies where we are not able to get help. Having a spare tire, even if you have somebody come to help you, you have a tire to be able to put on the vehicle. There have been a lot of instances, I think, of people having to wait in certain locations for a tire to come in. And that can kind of put a damper on your plans. So having the spare is fantastic. I actually like where it is on the vehicle. I have to admit, I hate how heavy it is. And I'm trying to come up with a fix or a solution for that. My original brochure alluded to there being some sort of system in there, but apparently that was something that Hymer chose not to put on the vehicle. So if I come up with some great solution, I certainly will share it with everybody. I know this is an issue for some people. I've looked at doing sideways wheel carriers. I've considered actually mounting it to the back of the door. I am concerned about the weight of it and the hinges on that cargo door, and I have to talk to Dodge and find out if I should worry about that or not, as far as the weight that those doors can carry. Another thing that I was very impressed with was the insulation in this vehicle. There's foam insulation everywhere, and I just thought, okay, that would be a really good idea. And I have to say, in my limited thus far experience, it has helped keep the temperature under control, whether it be cold or hot. So far, pretty good. There's a couple of key areas where I think I'm going to add a little insulation, and I'm going to do a video about that. But overall, very happy with that. I was already familiar with the Truma Combi system that this vehicle comes equipped with, and I really like it. It has the ability to work on electric or propane or a combination of the two. Really nice features, really easy to use once you've figured out the keys on the screen. I've actually used it once or twice. It got cold enough in North Florida, and it heated Betty up really well. It also is the water heater as well, and it has a boost mode, which is great. It's really nice to get the water to temp really fast. So love the Truma Combi. And the refrigerator weirdly fell into the pro and the con list. So from a con perspective, I looked at the size and thought, how on earth am I ever going to manage with such a tiny fridge? I'm happy to report thus far I've been shocked by how much I can actually pack in there. So that con is slowly slipping away, but not to say I wouldn't love just a little bit more room and perhaps a little more freezer space. So in the pro side, I really like it because it's electric only. There is no propane. It can run on 12 volt, which is great. it means that the inverter does not need to be on to run the refrigerator, and that's important and a conversation to be had at another time. But the other good thing about that is because it's not a three-way, it means that you don't have to be perfectly level. There's lots of issues with those three-way refrigerators. When you're using propane, you have to be relatively level for that to function. I've been in a couple of vehicles where that's been a bit of a hassle. So yay, none of that going on here. I really liked the screens on the slider and the back door. I can see right off the bat that you have to handle them very tenderly and take care of them. At some point I anticipate I'm going to be looking at other options. But for now, really love the screens. They've saved my bacon on several occasions when it's mosquito hour. So yeah. I also felt like the storage was pretty decent in here. I'm a bit of a freak when it comes to storage and containers and organizing and things of that nature, and there's several videos in the works on that. Little things that I found that really optimize the storage in here. And I am just one person, although apparently I have a lot of stuff that I take with me. And interestingly enough, that stuff is changing as time goes on. I will say that I am planning on doing a follow-up video in a little while. It's going to be interesting to see how all of these things that I thought were really exciting and swell and vital in the beginning pan out over use over time. Getting the sense that a lot of the advice that I was given, which is, you know, for your first RV, it's probably not going to be your forever RV, because as you use it, you're going to find things that you thought were important are really not, and things that you weren't thinking about become very important. So that's going to be a fun video, and I'm probably going to do that every year or two for a comparison and see how this whole thing evolves. I'm sure there's a whole bunch more that I can't think of in this moment. I will say she's just so darn cute. I know that's kind of a girly thing to say, but I really like the design. I like the clean lines. I like the color choices that were made. I'm very excited that she is a part of our little troop and that we're going to go off and have a lot of fun together. But it just stopped raining, so I'm going to cut this video short. Alfie and I are going to move on to our next adventure. But till next time, enjoy. Thanks. Till next time. Bye-bye.